I have no idea who you're looking at, so I'll let you do the first intro.
Okay, here we go. In the upper left, in the blue, his name for, of course, Alpha X. He's classic.
And down in the bottom right, we have from Shopify Rebellion, he is Byun. Really wonder if the Shopify Rebellion players, or not if, but when, it's a matter of when, the Shopify Rebellion players are going to go check out that super cool looking setup that they have now in Toronto. I don't know if you saw TLO's tweet about it, but Shopify Rebellion has like a sick little home for all of their esports teams to go visit and check out and to practice and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, it's awesome. I know Scarlett is visiting, I think, next weekend. It's only 2.5 hours by train for her. So
yeah, she lives right there. So
I did the math. It's like, okay, Toronto's about 3 hours from me. It's like, can I convince TLO to let me come visit? Yeah, the answer is no, probably, but you know.
I think you, I mean, especially if you're close. And speaking of close, we do have a proxy pylon coming on down. I do just want to mention that coming out from Classic. He does not want to have this game go very, very long, it appears, especially with the, well, actually, okay. That's very curious. He sends the probe in to confirm like whether there's a natural or anything, but he also kind of reveals it and then sends it back out.
Yeah, it's just you know, you're sitting here. He's saying, "Look, Byun, I'm scouting. I'm not doing anything untoward." And the Byun says, "Actually, wait a minute here. There's only one pylon in your base. There's nothing down below. Maybe you are doing something untowards. Stargate coming on down, and you know, Fear Dragon. It's interesting." We had the nerf, and we didn't see a lot of Stargate play for a little bit. And now I've started to see a lot of proxy Stargate again, but it's almost always Oracles now because, well, you know, Wise Man said that Void Arrays are terrible. I'm not convinced that's true, but for right now, it's a lot of Oracle play.
Yeah, it definitely has been a lot more Oracles. I feel like it's like kind of what you said. It's a bit reactionary. I feel like a lot of players are just sort of saying, well, Void Rays are worse, so therefore I don't want to make them anymore. But I will say kind of like a lot of the little moves over here from Classic, it almost just feels like he didn't, like obviously he wants it to be unscouted, but he didn't seem to mind that much. Like he left his probe over by the Zonlanga Watchtower, which I think is kind of a little giveaway of like, oh look, the proxy's probably on this side, and this is also the side that makes the most sense. But it is now just kind of a question: is Byun going to be ready for it? He does have a decent number of these Marines ready. He's not going to put any SCVs to the natural for now.
Yeah, but look at this Fear Dragon. I mean, proxy Oracle, sure. I feel like Oracles against Terran are a little weird because it takes a little longer to kill anything. 3 shots instead of 2. We got a gateway coming down here as well. Classic has been really leaning into aggressive proxy second gate play for a while. But this is a new one to me, and Byun will scout this again. He's got the rescout with that SCV just sitting down there, so he should have enough. But what do you make of this?
Yeah, it is definitely a curious one. I mean, he does have a natural and everything behind this. This isn't some kind of like really crazy one base all in, but off of just the few 3 gateways that he's gonna have, I think he can put on some pressure. I think the really cool thing, actually, I will say, is that the Adepts have effectively been able to deny a bunker from being built in the natural. So maybe that does open up some of the pathways for being continued or continuing some of this aggression, but I'm not sure.
Well, what I will say here, we're going to triple Oracle, which everything I talk about, look, okay, Oracles, they're not great against Terran because it takes 3 ticks and it's just not as efficient. Well, we have 3 Oracles now. So there is now one-shot potential on the Marines, on the SCVs. Should Byun look to, or Classic look to run on in here. And as he increases his Adept count, we're starting to get to this point a little bit where Classic may be able to bust through the natural. There are only 13 Marines versus, well, a lot more on the ground. So Adepts, they look to shade on in. They're going to try to complete this happen before the bunker is here, but Oracles, they say they're going to be a little reticent. The bunker should complete. Yeah. They're dead. Okay.
Yeah, I was not feeling that right there, Bill. I looked at, okay, the Marines, yes, I think if the Marines were by themselves and you hit before the bunker completes, I think maybe a bust can happen over there. But the 2 Cyclones, I feel like just changed so much. The Cyclones, as long as they are even somewhat reasonably locked on to like high value units, like whether it be the Stalkers or even the Oracles or what have you, I feel like there's just no way you really bust in there and keep enough units alive or do enough damage to make that worth it, right?
Yeah, I think the play, and we saw the Oracles do that a little bit before Byun got a lock on, killed one of them. I think the play was for Classic to try to dive on in, maybe feint that he was really committing to that, and then dive into the main base with triple Oracle, evaporate a mineral line, go from there. But we don't have that potential anymore. It is only double Oracle. It takes a little bit longer. And Byun has not lost a lot. So now, of course, with the Phoenix here, it is nice. You can lift the Cyclones. You can break lock-ons, do things like that. But life is getting a little bit scary here for our Protoss hero. Byun is not taking... I mean, he's lost one Cyclone. He's lost one Cyclone, 3 SCVs. It's not a lot. His stim is just about done. His army continues to grow. And WoW Classic has Blink on the way. He's got +1 on the way. There is not a lot of oomph in this ground army for the eventual Byun follow-up.
Oh, I'm fully with you there. I think that Classic is just going to be looking of ways to try and buy time. And I will say, you know, some well-placed stasis traps can do exactly that. We'll see if Byun is going to be super on point about ensuring he can set off all of the different stasis traps. He already sets off one of them. Is he going to catch the other one? You can see these stalkers are trying so hard to bait this army into it, but Byun, is he giving chase? He is! Oh my god.
The old bait and switch, the old Byun and switch? I don't know. But that's going to slow things down for a solid 45 seconds here. And look at this. Look what Classic's doing. He's going to try to jump on top of this army, but Classic, you don't want to do that. That's 3 sentries, 3 stalkers. That just dies. So, ooh, those stasis trap again. Byun knows that this is here, so he really shouldn't fall victim to it. But Blink will be done now by the time this push moves across. But Fear Dragon, I don't think I'm incorrect in saying that the actual upgrade you want to make sure that this hold happens is charge, and that is a pretty far ways off.
Yeah, that is going to be very difficult. But I mean, he's getting a lot of nice pickoffs on these Marines. He ends up taking a shot on some of the sentries and stuff, but he's doing a great job of the Blink Micro. And you look at the armies now, and you imagine if this army, all for the Protoss, gets back home safely, doesn't lose too many stalkers over here, ends up losing the Oracle, ends up losing the Sentry as well. I was going to say, if you have a reinforcing Warpin, you have +1 weapons, and even just have a shield battery regenerate some of the shields on these stalkers, I actually think that Classic can hold now.
Yeah, so he's now going to run on forward, leading with the Zealots, just eat all the tank shots. As now the Stalker's going on forward. 1 tank goes down. Look at the splits here. 2nd tank goes down as well, and he's just going to wait for Blink to come off the cooldown. He got the key units here, which is going to allow him to stay alive for a good bit longer. Byun is going to get forced back. And here's the important thing, Fear Dragon. He hit before the upgrades. Combat shields were not done for this fight. Neither was +1. Classic hitting that razor-thin margin. And now I think he's pretty happy in this game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was very afraid about that Blink forward, but I guess it kind of works out. I think he did take slightly worse trades, but I mean, his 3rd base is operational, and I feel like I guess he did take out enough of the army that this is almost a little bit of a dangerous move over here from Byun. He's going to be taking this low ground 3rd base when there's still that proxy gate there, when there's still a lot of Blink stalkers that are ready to move around the map. And yeah, I actually feel like that siege tank, for example, is going to be extremely exposed. I really wonder, is Classic going to be literally charging in with charge?
Yeah, I think that's the timing. About 15 seconds. I got it. 15 seconds on the dot. I feel really smart as a caster right now. But about 10 seconds, 5 seconds, he's going to look to hit that timing. Now, he's not going to have his armor, but he's equal upgrades right now. But look how Byun has really fast ghosts. He's not going to have any for this push, but if we see a little deviation here, a little delay, maybe something's going to happen here. Stalkers pulling on forward. Zealots getting on top of all these Marines. The tanks go down, but there actually is not a lot of... Oh, actually, Zealots coming from the bottom side. There is plenty here for Classic in this game. Byun maybe overplayed his hand in the mid game. The 3rd base, it gets lifted. Everything's going down. Fear Dragon, man, the world is Classic's oyster here in this game 1.
Oh, he's feeling amazing at this point. I really want to rewatch that fight, actually, because I swear there were 2 Widow Mines there, and the 2 Zealots that charged forward and got locked onto went for the Widow Mines, and all of the other Zealots went off for the army on the right-hand side. So you effectively, I don't really not sure if it was an intentional 2 Zealot split that was the Zealots charging forward, and Classic had such amazing micro that he split those 2 off to the left and made sure that they didn't just drag the mines onto the rest of the army, or if he actually just, you know, accidentally did it. But either way, man, an engagement that already was going to look really good is looking so strong right now for Classic.
That it is, and Classic behind this as well. He's got his 4th base. Byun, he's going to try to retake his 3rd, but it is rather late. He's got, he's actually not on double forge, which you kind of would expect by now, but he's got his +2 on the way. So he's going to have a significant upgrade lead. He's got double Colossus. He could go carriers if he wanted here. I don't think he's going to. Classic actually is a carrier player, so who knows, but really he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, it's sort of funny. I will say, like, EMP enhanced shockwaves and stuff, if maybe Byun can take a really good fight with a decent sized army, get some great EMPs off or something before the Colossus really start popping out, there maybe could have been something. But the first two Colossus are about to pop. I think it's going to be so tough. Like, at most now, you take advantage of the fact that there isn't Thermal Lance. You can pick off the Colossus, and then Byun maybe takes a great fight. I only bring all this stuff up because it's literally Byun. Otherwise, I feel like feels like he's just losing options as time goes on.
Yeah, I guess the other thing we can talk about here is it is a very zealot-heavy composition here for Classic. He's got, well, I think he's got 16 Stalkers, but 25 Zealots. He did have more. And Zealots, while they're good, they die to bio very quickly. They're there to absorb shots. So if Classic, we saw him continue to commit to that maybe a little bit more, but hold that thought. We got a fight kicking off here. Extend Thermal Lance, not done. Widow Mines, they're not going to get the shots they want. Classic doing a pretty damn good job of splitting the Zealots off to start here, but EMPs, they blanket this entire army. Sentries are useless. Widow Mines going full force onto things, and now we're going to have to see the Stalkers. They're going to blank on in, but they have no shields. They're starting to go down. Byun looking to try to make miracles happen, but unfortunately, this is not the field of dreams. This is nightmares for Byun in this game. He's not going to break this fourth base. Everything's going to go down. Widow Mine trying to kill off a Colossus, but Colossus are tanky enough for that one. Fear Dragon. No Widow Mines today. No Widow memes killing Colossus.
I mean, it was a valiant effort, right? Byun got the massive EMPs off like you were talking about. The Widow Mines are actually connecting decently well and just zoning out the army for a bit. But at the end of the day, the Colossus are really what just did all the damage there. Once the Colossus were able to survive, you could see there was a point where the two Colossus were already doing a lot. And then the third and fourth Colossus walked up and was like, oh, actually, your army is invalid. You can't do anything here. Go home, Byun. And Byun just kind of had to back off. He's already down now a bit of army supply and a lot of worker supply. This drop, I mean, if it's able to get something done, looks like Classic is a little bit busy with his army right now.
Yeah, that's a start of something. 11 workers go down there. Now, talk to me. There are 5 Colossus on this map. And I guess this is just a reaction to the fact that Byun has had to build things that are not Vikings for a while. So you had 5 Colossus. With a marine-heavy army as Byun is, actually he's got a decent amount of Marauders, but that is just so much DPS. But still, if Byun's able to keep doing that damage, he gets 3, 4, 5 more Widow Mine drops and starts to really kind of tick away maybe at Classic's economy. Maybe that's his route back into this game.
Man, I really wish that Byun had been able to afford or been able to go for that army a little bit earlier, because those Widow Mines would have been able to stay alive a little bit longer. He's already fallen super far behind on upgrades and stuff, which already hurts, I think, especially versus a Colossus player. But now it's kind of do or die moment, and unfortunately, unless Byun can pull off an unbelievably Byun-like move, it is going to be the die part of do or die.
I think you mean more die or die here as Classic looking to run on in the fourth base. It's not going to happen here. And one downside, right? It's a lot of Archons. You drop EMPs, the Archons pop like paper, but still 5 Colossus. That is a lot of stuff. It's War of the Worlds here, and there's no virus this time. Third base goes down, fourth base goes down here. SCV is getting pulled because Byun, he's got one last-ditch effort, but the Stalkers are going to blank on forward. Vikings go down. These 5 Colossus feels like they can almost win this fight by themselves. Well, now it's 3 Colossus, but the point still stands. The army up Byun, he's below 80 supply. This is it's a little bit hard for the Korean Terran.
Yeah, even if both these players traded their entire armies out and somehow they both ended up losing everything, Classic would have been dramatically happier with it because he has 5 bases right now. He's making 5 workers at a time, and Byun is sitting on 2 now. Like, there was no way that Byun was going to be happy with that. He needed to dominate in engagement, and that unfortunately didn't happen. There's a GG. Classic really earning that first victory with some, frankly, pretty solid play in the early stages with his aggression, but I'm just more impressed with how well he held that lead.
So I am being told, Fear Dragon, and by my chat, someone shows up. That shout out to Kenny Tennyson saying Scarlet and Hearthstone are visiting or planning to visit. Byun is not going to come, which is fair considering how hard it is to get into and out of Korea right now. And Lambo's on vacation, so who knows when he visits.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't be surprised if Lambo maybe goes and visits after or before DreamHack Atlanta or something, but that is a ways off.
Yeah, end of November on that one. But hey, fine, Fear Dragon, regardless of how far away it is, there's a land on North American soil again. Very excited about that.
That'll be so nice, man. I miss them. Even Cheesadelphia, man, I'll be so happy when that stuff kicks back off, or just any of those North American events.
Oh yeah. No, I'm so happy now. I live actually within driving distance of a Cheesadelphia. You know, I lived in Arizona for 5 years, and before that, I couldn't do anything. But Philadelphia's 5 hours-ish by car from New Hampshire. 5-6 hours. It's doable.
Oh yeah, that is pretty reasonable. Oh man, I still have to fly out for everything. Everything's on the East Coast. You know, I have to say we have a lot of StarCraft fans on the West Coast of the United States, but all of the players are on the East Coast to the Midwest. There's 2 or 3 players. On the West Coast.
You got Astrea.
We have Astrea. We have Silky, or had Silky, but yeah, not a whole lot of other players like Vindicta and stuff as well. But
Ooh.
It's light. Oh, a recall.
He survives. 1 more shot, 4 HP. But we all know, Probius lives to fight another day.
It's always a good feeling when you can save that probe. I still do wonder a little bit what exactly the math is on the chrono, like, because the chrono boost lasts for more than 1 probe. So you're technically able to get out some percentage of the next probe out a little bit faster if you chrono boost versus if you save the probe with the recall. I really wonder, like, what's the economic benefit on it? How do the numbers actually play out?
We need to simulate this, you know, of 1,000 tests. I mean, it's not, there's no randomness there, so you don't really need to do 1,000 tests, but I'm sure we can do it. You're a smart man, Fear Dragon.
I don't even think it should be that hard to map out. Yeah,
but here's the thing, right? We make it sound really complicated, so then when, you know, you write a post on Reddit about it, people think you're really smart. And then you have that, like, you have that street cred of, wow, this guy's really smart. It doesn't help you at all, but, you know, that one guy on Reddit says, oh, wow, Fear Dragon's smart. And then that makes it all worth it.
There you go. That's what we're all seeking out, man. We're all just seeking out the Reddit karma. That's truly what gets us up in the morning.
Yeah, if I don't get at least 5 upvotes every day, I just don't get out of bed.
Well, this is a kind of interesting play out of how the build order is shaped up. We did have that Stargate opening and stuff, obviously, with the Phoenix roaming around that you've been showing off. But we also got that Raven follow-up over here from Byun. So I feel like, especially with the robotics bait coming on out, in some ways I think Byun will like this, but it will be interesting to see how the Phoenix are going to be able to interact with everything, because the Phoenix do have opportunities to try and snipe off that Raven if the Terran player is not extremely careful.
And Byun was playing Saberlight earlier today, and Saberlight went for a Phoenix play, and I think we can agree Saberlight is not nearly the level of Protoss player that Classic is. Byun 2-0'd him pretty quickly, but he did lose that Raven on the push. Maybe it was just a bit of an overconfidence. Maybe it was Byun, I don't know, maybe not feeling all that great today. But what I think is actually interesting is look how quick this stim is. This is a 2-1-1 effectively. 3rd barracks on the way now, but actually no, that's not true. I keep looking for the Ryung build that, you know, dominated every Protoss at Katowice, and I see like a hint of it, like Ryung build, and then it's not the Ryung build, and I look silly.
It's all good. It happens, man. Yeah, you know, only Ryung can be Ryung, I guess, but for what you were talking about, though, I do think that, like, you know, stim and combat shields coming out around now, I think it's still going to set up decently well with, like, the first 2 medevacs and stuff. You can start thinking about pushing out just a little bit after I think they pop. And I believe you should be able to hit around that time, have the interference matrices and stuff, everything ready for the Colossus. And, I mean, keeping these Phoenix alive is actually really, really important, because you do want to have a way to actually push that Raven back, at least zone it out a little bit, so it can't just immediately interference matrix both Colossus, the bio army stims up on your ground force, and you just die immediately. Like, it's the saddest feeling as a Protoss player in that situation.
I don't know, which is sadder, you lose an entire mineral line to Widow Mines, or that happens, I don't know. But nice little move out here. 6 workers go down. It's always one of those funny things you gotta mess around with. You got a question in the early game. It's, do I spin these lifts of the Phoenix to kill workers, or do I save them to make sure that when the eventual Terran push happens, I'm able to lift key units? Well, for now, Classic commits to the lift. He's doing a decent job of trying to get damage. Oh, he forced auto turret, and he gets the Raven. That's massive.
So worth it. Sacrifice 1 Phoenix and a little bit of hit points for the Raven. That's great. But his double drop over here with the Byun coming in from behind, really catching Classic off guard. 11 workers already going down. Shield battery overcharged. Gonna allow 2 Colossus to take on the entire frontal army. And the rest of the army here for Byun, It's just not large enough to handle these Phoenix and the rest of this Zealot Warpin reinforcements here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, one of the things that we deal with when you talk about Zealot or Phoenix anything is you don't run away from that. They get chased down, they go down. Your Colossus will knock down the last of these Marines. So at the end of things, we have to ask ourselves, Fear Dragon, 11 workers and 1 Phoenix, maybe a couple other auxiliary units. Was that worth the entire army of Byun?
I mean, most definitely not, I would say. Byun does have a pretty good worker count, I will say, as compared to Classic after all the worker damage he did. But it is just a question. He's trying to establish a third base. Beowulf, I don't think he can defend a third base right now. I think it's I think he needs to lift that up and go home. I don't think he should try to defend it either.
Yeah, he's going to take his toys, go back home, but actually with the Phoenix in the air and the Stalkers as well, this is a command center that is going to start to burn. It may force Byun out of his little hidey hole, or actually the command center is just going to go down regardless. It's over dead airspace. Byun cannot go defend that one. It's a 2-base Terran once again. And Fear Dragon, I'm pretty sure Classic ate his Wheaties this morning. They were delicious. He actually had a double bowl. He got himself some nice whole milk from an organic something, and these Wheaties are powering him pretty strongly.
So this is a really funny spot now. I will say Classic is in a massive lead at this point, sure. But he is on double Stargate production, mostly producing Phoenix. You look at his warp gate count. He's only at 2 warp gates. He can't really close the game out right now. And there is a point where Byun just gets up enough of a ground force that he can establish a third base again. So I think the fact that the third base went down was unbelievably massive for Classic. But I really am wondering now, like, okay, how does Classic want to play this out? How does he want to close this out safely without giving up his lead? Because he can't really just say the game is over now. He can't just really move in.
Well, you give him like 3 more minutes and he can, because there's a word that starts with C and ends with Arriers that when you're ahead as a Protoss, it makes things really hard for the Terran, right? Because you have to hit critical mass. One way or the other. Carriers are a super binary situation. You either have enough carriers and the entire Terran army dies, or you don't have enough carriers and your entire army dies. They're on the way now. Byun, with his lack of a third, he doesn't have a lot of gas mining here. He's not going to be able to hit that critical mass of Vikings with +1 with +2 air. So you talk about Classic wanting to A-move. Well, I think we just got to give him a couple minutes. And he's going to be in a good spot. But Fear Dragon, I have one more thing for you. Someone in my chat did the math. Chrono Boost gives 2.5 probes in 20 seconds. You would normally get 1.67 probes in the same amount of time. So 1 Chrono Boost is worth approximately 0.83 probes. So it is worth it to recall.
All right, that makes sense. I guess the only other thing to factor in, which I think is at that stage in the game is totally reasonable, is your recall does go on cooldown, but I don't think you're really going to usually be using it unless, like, I don't know, Stalker gets put in a very awkward spot or something. So yeah, you know what? The math checks out. Thank you so much, wonderful chatter.
All right, and actually this is pretty cool. I mean, yes, we have a lot of Phoenix on the map as they're going to find these Vikings and look to chase them down. There's actually no anti-air. These are a bunch of dead Vikings, and that's just going to make it so hard here for Byun as the game goes on. Good EMP, though.
That was a very nice EMP. That, I mean, that basically just ensures that, yes, 3 workers get picked off, but there's no energy for other pickups. Maybe 1 Phoenix had enough energy for another pickup, but that actually severely reduced the amount of worker damage that he was going to be able to get done there. So I do agree the carrier transition is extremely fearsome when you can get up to that large number and stuff. I'm curious on your thoughts on this, Beowulf. If Classic is maxing out on 3 or 4 carriers, actually it looks like 4 carriers and a Tempest, he's gonna have a lot of the production to get up additional carriers and stuff later, but his air weapon upgrades are a little bit delayed. But Byun is just going to be making non-stop units. He doesn't exactly have a stellar economy, but he will be maxing out on a relatively even army supply with better upgrades, mind you, as well. Do you think that Byun still can like stand a fighting chance with just a defensive posture?
I don't think he can. It's going to be hard for him right now. But you saw, I assume you saw Ryung versus Zest. It was a similar situation, except Ryung was much further behind. This composition that Protoss are going for, and look at what Classic is doing. Someone said they nerfed shield batteries. Classic did not get that memo as he looks to move on forward. This composition can struggle to really engage into an extremely turtled up Terran, as much as say, hey, carriers, they're fantastic. And if Byun is going to start to take some good trades here, if he's going to start to be able to knock things down, EMP is blanketing that army, so Phoenix cannot really engage. Well, there comes an inflection point where, as you said, the army value does increase. Now, right now, Byun's army is about 2,000 gas cheaper. That says a lot about these styles, even as the upgrades are not as good. But it's a lot of gateway units, as you said. So Classic's going to struggle to move on in. I like the addition of the shield batteries. It does make it a little bit easier for him to consistently siege rather than just throw his army in and die and hope to remax and live on superior economy.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, the shield batteries are all already drained just because the EMPs, like, they've basically been EMP negation. But I am a little bit afraid that, yeah, now the shield batteries are drained, so the EMPs are really effective, and now interceptors are dying. It's actually really funny. I almost think, not that I think Classic should move command his carriers or the rest of his gateway army or something in, but it's a little bit sad for Classic that he's not trading anything, really. He's not getting, like, a couple units in exchange for some of his Phoenix and freeing up supply to make more carriers or more Tempests. Like, he's basically just not losing a whole lot, so he can't really transition his army. He's just building up a bank instead.
I mean, banks are nice. One thing I really like from Classic here is he's moving into more Tempests. He's not kind of staying in that carrier idea. And so five Tempests, they kill Vikings, they kill Medivacs. That's a really nice situation to be in. And of course, with the ground upgrade with Tectonic Destabilizers, you knock down a lot of this static defense. But Byun, now he says, I don't want to get locked in here. That doesn't sound like fun. He's going to try to knock down the static defense. This does not feel like a great idea from Byun outside of the range of his missile turrets, but now he backs up. And the Tempest, again, they're going to start paring away at the missile turrets. It's getting a little bit harder here for Byun, but he does have his fourth base set up. Right? He's only one base down behind Classic at this point, and Fields are a powerful drug, but ooh, Fear Dragon, I like this. If his opponent's going to just sit here and do stuff, might as well take a bunch of his bio, run it across the map.
You know, I actually love if Byun split up those drops a little bit. Just send like 2 to another base, because you know that the reaction is going to be that there's going to be some kind of recall, right? You absolutely know that's going to be the case. Unless he feels like this army can take on whatever gets recalled, then the EMP of the Nexus ensures that there's no immediate recall over there. And I love the Zealot run by here from Classic, but yeah, you know that there's still going to be just a recall another base.
Sorry, I would like to distract you from this drop that is very clearly finding value here, as Byun's going to be forced back eventually. Classic has proxied a Nexus on the other side of the map. We're going to take a look at that in a second. Extra energy, there we go. And shield battery overcharge.
You gotta be able to shield battery overcharge, man. If you're gonna siege up, you know, 10 batteries, at what point, it's like, there's a question. At what point, when you've invested so many batteries into a position, do you just say it's probably worth building the Nexus? Like, it's gotta be like at least 6 or 7, right?
I mean, yeah, right. Shield battery is 100 minerals. Nexus is 450, so 4 or 5 is the break-even point, theoretically. I really thought we were going to see Byun take this opportunity of his opponent recalling to just bust through all of this static defense, but I guess he was more focused on the drop. And look at this, though. We're going to see Vikings getting on top of a lot of this. Not a lot of anti-air outside of the Tempest themselves. Good disruptor shots on the bottom side, but Byun's bio is still fighting on through here. He's going to knock down a lot of these carriers. But there are still 3 Colossus and 5 Tempests, and Byun will be forced to back on up here. His army vanishing just a little bit. He doesn't have a lot of bank either.
Yeah, really unfortunate there for Byun. I actually feel like that could have been a big inflection point for this game for him, just because his army was, like you said, half of it was going after some of the shield batteries and stuff, and half of it was fighting the army for the first, like, 7 or 8 seconds of that fight. Imagine if that entire army was pulled together for Byun. He was able to kill off like an extra carrier or 2 carriers or another Tempest or something. I actually think that fight maybe starts going in his favor, and I wouldn't say he's ahead at that point, but I'd say like the game is even up, because I think then Byun can start expanding again kind of freely. He gets to take out the remaining shield batteries on the center of the map, and you know, I feel like we have a little bit more of a game on our hands. For now, I will say Byun is still doing a killer job in the upgrade departments compared to Classic, but man, that armor upgrade for the Terran bio, not usually like the most impactful upgrade in the game, but if you're up against a lot of these carriers and stuff, it can be so helpful.
Hey, you know, Fear Dragon, I want to see Classic start mining from this, from like slightly long distance mining from this base. You might as well. You already got the situation secured. There is a Marines, actually, they knock a Tempest down. That's going to be rather nice. But we can look at all these interactions, and the only thing I'm truly looking at is the Viking count. If he can hit to one-shot potential, it's something like 12, 15 Vikings. That's when things start to get a little bit scarier here for Classic, but for right now, he's doing a great job of keeping them down. and they're only +1 Vikings for the moment. They're not +2. They're not really advancing their upgrades all that much because Byun broke as a joke. He has been able to secure a 5th base. He's got a drop on the bottom side, denying mining there as well. So he's active on the map, killing 10 workers, and he's still staying alive. But every time he engages here, he has to actually engage because Tempest are one-shot potential. They're knocking these Vikings out of the sky.
This base is so tough for him to actually defend. And like you said, the Vikings getting knocked out of the sky means that he can't really chase this army back. Shield battery overcharge is still active until finally now. But now the army is pretty much gone. I almost wonder if Byun would have been better off abandoning this base.
Well, he had to abandon it once. I think now he's fine because he has that 4th and the 5th base elsewhere. Which, by the way, he's on 5 orbitals. He's not built a single planetary in this game. Sorry?
Yeah. Drop on the right-hand side. Oh, actually, never mind. Not getting that much damage done. But yeah, this is pretty brutal. It does feel like Classic is able to just gradually bleed Byun dry. And I think you were kind of showing off that Byun is not even really mining from that bottom center base. It's really only that left-hand base that I would say is super healthy right now.
I mean, our argument that Byun is being bled dry, I don't think that's actually totally fair. This is a 5 orbital Byun. He can drop mule hammers whenever he wants. So the fact that this is not mining, I mean, there are 7, 8 mules there on that spot. Classic's only on 42 workers. He's starting to trade somewhat poorly here. And as long as Byun can get on top of this army, as a lot of those disruptors go down, one big stim wipes down a lot of this army, assuming that Colossus go down, assuming really the Colossus go down, you can get on top of the disruptors. Byun has built himself a wonderful economic scenario. He knocked down the 5th base of Classic. Classic's having to remind that Classic has lost his 3rd nexus. Not important for mining, but certainly important for chrono, maybe for energy. And if he stops rallying his Vikings into things, maybe there is a world where Byun's able to take these fights. Because again, look at the income advantage. Over the last 5 minutes, Byun has been mining a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And we are going to see Classic really start to commit forward. Gets a lot of SCVs that were transferring over to that bottom center base. Oh, that actually kind of hurts a little bit. Even with the mule hammers available, losing 20 workers that could have helped mining does sort of sting at this point in the game. And we're starting to see medevacs getting move commanded into the Tempest. Oh boy, Byun.
Yeah, it's just the rally there on the starports are just right in the middle of things. We're gonna have to see all the Marines split on up here. Now we're seeing the full strength of the carriers. Byun makes it work for 20 minutes, but unfortunately, Fear Dragon, the rules say that Protoss wins at 20 minutes with this composition, no matter what. And Classic just, I don't make the rules. He enjoys it.